Was it always the dream to be working for yourself out of college?
Oh no. I mean, it wasn't always, because like I think when you walk into like Syracuse, you walk in a new house, like you're like, oh, I'm gonna work for ESPN or you're gonna work for a company, out of college. But I I honestly think what I'm doing now is I mean, this sounds so narcissistic, but I think it is better. I think, and look, I'm gonna go out, I'll die on the hill if it's not, right? But I I think the opportunity to kind of like in a year, right? So in 1 year, if you're working for a company, like how much can you really upscale your career in 1 year? I mean,
You can
it's a
upscale the
lot.
company, but it's harder to upscale yourself in a lot of
It's
ways.
in 1 year you can upscale yourself tremendously, and I think that's kind of like the adrenaline rush that you kind of love about like the fact that you can like change the trajectory of your career like so rapidly, working for yourself, because obviously like how I entered that Bleacher Report, and you kind of just see how like they don't really like they're not really invested in like seeing you succeed. Like they're invested in seeing the company succeed. So
Yeah.
like like they'll have you make videos for them, but like it's all about like what it's gonna benefit, how it's gonna benefit them. Like it's not there's not much focus on how it could benefit your career. So they're tailoring certain things. Oh, you have to make this shorter. Like don't really like make this video as short as possible because we just want the viewership. We don't actually care if you get to show some personality, show some creativeness um with like making it a more interesting video that has more layers to it. So I think like for me in the media space now, there's probably like two. If someone who wants to cover the NBA full time, there's not really much like options out of college. Other like you can be a beat writer, which is a very valid option. That's so dope. Problem is the pay is sometimes a little questionable, but like that is obviously like a path that sometimes I was even beating myself about in college. Like, do I do that path? Like that seems like really cool. But I think I'm basically betting on myself and betting on the media landscape evolving to where I think it's already kind of going. Like where I think people like myself are going to be the people who are the next beat writers and the next people who are at these games credentialed and at the biggest games credentialed. And I think um it's kind of just a bet into the future if I will. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I think I think I'm gonna be right.
I think at the very least, do try to have some level of like journalistic skills. Whoopsie, dropped my pen. Some like journalistic skills that you think are transferable to any content creator slash any person who's giving information. And what do you think those are for you?
Oh, yeah, the journalistic skills, oh, 100%. I would say that for me, like those last couple years in Newhouse, like really see that's like even the thing. Like here, my professors and like I'm like if my professors were watching my videos in like 2022, like I was like sitting there, I'm like, dude, they would hate my videos, so like they would hate my guts. So I'm like, I gotta change some things up. So that was definitely kind of a thing, just seeing um the things that they would talk about in the classroom, and then obviously like this past year, I the assistant dean, shout out to Professor Gallagher, like she was saying how how dope it is what I'm doing. So I think just to see and all the love I got from really all my professors 2025 2024, so that was super cool to like see that they actually had a deep appreciation for what I was doing. But in terms of like the journalistic ethics, I think again, it's seeing what angle like I can take of this. And I think a good example, let's just like look at the NBA today, right? So the Clippers obviously on a great winning streak and whatnot. And Ty Lue had this quote after this was like 2 weeks back that, we want to finish the season 35 and 20, that's our goal. And now they're 6-0 since.
Yeah.
So taking that quote and kind of just expanding on that, like, going showing, what Kawhi's been doing, showing, I think not just focusing on that quote and kind of elaborating on like how impressive it's been what they have been doing, because I mean it's not rocket science. It's not like talking about sports is like this deep rocket science. I kind of view it as like Get Up on ESPN, First Take, any podcast where they have a segment, basically a segment that they're doing for 8 minutes. For me, and it's really just how do I condense that into 80 seconds.
Yeah.
So if you're having an 8 minute conversation, Nick Wright, Chris, by the way, great show. I love that show. But
Nick
like,
Wright, New House of Love.
yeah, shout out to Nick Wright. But like, Get Up. I like Get Up too. I don't know how much hate Get Up gets, but I do watch Get Up every now and then, and I think it's a good show. But like basically how they have their table talk at 8 minutes, 6 minute conversation. How can I really just do that in like 70 seconds by myself? Like what do I think's interesting about this? What things can I pull up? Like what do I think's interesting? And that's obviously as a hoop sicko, it's not really hard to like think of like what I think is interesting. Like, and if other people don't think it's interesting, like whatever, I don't know. So that's not my problem.
I know you talked a lot about the praise that professors gave you, but how did students around you, especially at a very traditional journalism school, view your
Well,
content?
I didn't get any. I mean, maybe behind the scenes, or behind my back, but I got all love, honestly, like all love. Like I mean, I had students interview me for their class projects like throughout my whole time there. So I mean, shout out to my guy Noah Weinberg. We did a like his whole semester long project was about me and what I'm doing. So I think I had a bunch of those interactions of just people interviewing me for their class projects. A bunch of interactions where people would just sit next to me in class, like in these random classes and just like oh I watch your videos. So I mean, look, maybe there's interactions about like behind the scenes that you know about. I don't know. I don't know.
No, I only ask because
But
whenever you zag when everyone else around you is zigging, there could be some misunderstanding or some
yeah, I don't think there's that because I think first of all, I think people understand how tough the job market is right now. Where like
yeah.
um, I don't not that I don't need a job. I wasn't even I did a I but like not that I don't know. I think there's no judgment because I think people understand like that it's just a different landscape now. I think that's what I would say. People understand it's a different landscape, and so and even if there was judgment, like I really wouldn't care because I'm doing pretty well for myself. So like I mean, have and that sounds like weird, but it's look if I would love see I love these conversations. If people have these conversations about like, oh Ben, you're doing something that I think is like you shouldn't be doing. Like, bro, let's have it. I love talking about this stuff like the traditional route versus like what
Yeah.
I'm doing. I think this stuff I could talk about this for hours, and I encourage conversation like that. But I never had because people aren't going to say it to your face either, right? They're not going
Yeah.
to be like, "Oh, you're doing something wrong," and they may think that behind my back, And if that's what they think, oh well, I guess I just have to,
Do you ever feel like an outsider? Kind of because you are, whether you like it or not, you're outside the box.
yeah. No, I
For
mean,
now, the box has changed a
yeah.
little bit, but in the confines of media, you're still outside of the box.
See, and that's why I think I'm like so desperate to get credentials for like the finals and stuff, and like I that and even the draft. I got the actually I didn't apply for the draft, but I
I should have seen
did
you
I
there.
yeah no I didn't apply for the
Oh,
draft,
okay. You
and
should have applied.
but I was gonna get denied. I've applied for the Vegas Cup and I got denied, which was that was a shame. But like I don't think I'll get even now. I don't think I would get approved for those like big events like the draft or like the because they still don't really if I for example I think if I made content about one team specifically and if I let's say I only made content about like the Orlando Magic and like I was just like this Magic guy like they because I would probably get credentials for the Magic but
Yeah.
since to get credentials for like a someone who like I claim to be like some national person covering the league it's a lot harder. Now I've gotten it, but it just it's tough. You get denied a lot because and rightfully so, right? I think like I don't know what I have to do. Maybe it's like hit 1 million followers. I don't know what exactly the number is. Um, but I think it's also like I have to evolve my content and make my and that's why I've been a big proponent of like the past years, just like trying to make my content better and like just trying to make it more like more like I would say like just have more layers to it and I'm blanking on the word, but like uh really just try to add like just not make it so like shallow where it's like there's only like one thing. Like make it as substantive as possible. Obviously short form you can't make it like super substantive, but try your best to do that with graphics and whatnot, all these things.
Do you think having, uh, obviously you have your own media company, but do you think having like a podcast or like another person with you could make it more beneficial? Maybe there's a little bit more back and forth almost with it. And
And
especially because
that's
like if you look at someone like, sorry, not to interrupt you, but if you
oh
look at
no.
someone like Brad Parker, his stuff is like a lot of interactions with fans or players. Yours is direct storytelling. And even though your content is amazing, there are a lot of storytellers. So do you think it's the lack of interaction
I
could
mean,
play
I think
into
there's
it?
a lot of interviewers. I mean, the whole space is saturated, right? I mean, there's a lot of interviewers too. I mean,
Of
come on.
course, no,
Like,
100%.
I'm
Yeah.
saying like the street interviewers. Like that street interview style is very saturated. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
but honestly, there's no. I feel like I don't think that's like I mean, like yeah, the reality is just a lot of everyone nowadays. I mean, like
Yeah.
it's the
For
media
sure. Yeah.
landscape, and there's no gatekeepers, which is like kind of a beautiful thing, and it kind of plays itself out here, where you don't need permission from a Fox executive or a an executive at ESPN, at Bleacher Report, at any Yahoo Sports, like any company you can name. So you don't need that permission from somebody, so you can just start and do it. So of course it's gonna be saturated, and that's fine. I think for me about what was okay, the question again? Like I'm reframe it more specifically because
So I
I
was saying, do you
kind of got
think
lost. I think.
the interactive element that
Yes.
isn't necessarily apparent in a lot of your content, do you think that could potentially get you to the
Yeah.
spot where
Well,
the
yes.
NBA
So,
is
so, so
more
it's
willing
fine.
to
I
give you
think when it
credentials?
comes to I think in the future we'll start to see this more. I think podcasts will start to be, or they're already starting to be very embraced. Like the Deep Three, I think of stay. I mean, like, there's so many podcasts where you know they're like just full blown. Like they can get credentials probably for the finals. Like that they've reached that level. So I think like for me, yeah, of course, having a successful podcast is probably like the probably the crown art, the crown jewel of like accomplishments. I think having a successful podcast is like one of the most uh, viewed ones in the space, whatever sport you're covering. Like that is basically what TV was, what radio, what sports on radio was,
Yeah.
10, 20 years ago. So obviously that's a big deal. That's kudos to those people who pull those together. I just think I don't know. Of course, I think that's something that I'm open to. Starting a podcast with somebody, of course. But right now, that is something that I think I would explore, though, 100%. I would say that.